Lake 6 was really about to come out. Welcome back to High Consciousness Podcast. Sorry, I feel like I have to sneeze. I just finished, puff puff passing. I got 5 on it. What up, fam? Welcome back. I'm happy to have you guys here. I'm happy to be here myself, and I'm happy to be your host. And today's episode is gonna be touching, and I am ready for it, and I'm excited for it, and I cannot wait to deliver it to you guys. But first, before we get into anything, I would like to take some time, at least 5 minutes out of this podcast, to meditate. Let's start with a meditation session. Nothing crazy. The app that I use is 10%, Mindful Minute 2023. If you know, you know. But it's a really good app. I recommend it 100%. It has a lot of lessons. It has a lot of different meditation teachers on there that take the time out of their day to really educate the youth and just educate whoever decides to take that route of meditation. I think that, meditation has helped me a lot. I've been doing meditation for about 5 years now. And I'm constantly in and out of the practice, but I just know that that's a tool that I have, that whenever life gets really, really heavy, and even just a minute, right, like just taking the moment to you don't know how much reset that does. We may feel as like it's a little, but even right now I feel a lot more calm. If you guys hear my dog, she's with me. Zoe's here. All right, she's present. She just can't talk, and she's too short. But I say all those things to say the least. Meditation helped me through all of that, and it really centered me, and it helped me really just for a moment pause on everything. Like, just pause on life and just be grateful for my breathing. And I think doing that, it just creates a different feel for life. It just does. And it helps you with detachment, right? It helps you with really finding yourself. It helps you with centering yourself. It helps you with thinking clearly. It helps you with respond before you react, right? So on today's session, we had to take a pause for a second. Now we back though. The do-rag changed. Ooh. But it did. I had to go change my do-rag real quick. But this is a mindful minute, and it's 2023. I just want you guys to listen to the session, and then we'll take a minute, and then we'll dive into quote of the day, month, year, whatever you want. So let's get it. Let's see what my guy has to say here.
Challenge, and it's also World Mental Health Day. Mindfulness can be an essential tool in supporting our mental health.
Y'all know when this is recorded then.
What we're experiencing. But no matter how mindful we are, it's inevitable that we will all have challenging moments along the way. One of the best tools for meeting those moments is compassion. Here's Dan and Roshi Joan discussing why compassion is beneficial to everyone.
Facts.
And how we can get some inspiration from people we admire.
But a lot of people might ask, why is it in my interest to be compassionate?
Compassion is, I say, a triple win, because the person who receives it benefits. The person who witnesses compassion feels morally elevated, is inspired.
That's facts.
And also the person who is compassionate experiences happiness. And this has come right out of the neuroscience research. Compassion is fundamentally an adaptive response to a particular moment of suffering. This really generates a sense of, what is important right now to meet this world fully and wholly and with love.
So how do we actually train compassion?
Yeah. Compassion is composed of a suite of processes that are totally familiar to us and completely trainable. So it's attention, critical, grounded, being able to perceive things clearly, high resolution, able to sustain attention on a person, an object, a situation, and then intention. Our motivation is a powerful part of, what gives our life depth of field. And so having a motivation that is compassion-based, that is pro-social, is essential. Yes, our whole life we'd like to be all like Desmond Tutu or Malala or Nelson Mandela, and these are Jane Goodall, all people I love and admire so much. And the wonderful thing about all those people is they're human too. They have moments when things are kind of crackly, and their humility, I think, is what is so important. They don't hold themselves above people. They really endeavor to meet the world in a realistic, kind, and very human way.
All right. Let's practice training for the triple win of compassion in this
Kind and
meditation
very human
from
way.
Roshi Jo.
Welcome. I'm so grateful you're here. Compassion is a spontaneous and adaptive response to the presence of suffering. This practice develops your ability to respond to suffering with compassion and kindness. Remind yourself throughout your day to bring the spirit of this practice into your life. When you see someone having a difficult time, see if you can extend them compassion. Even if you cannot change their circumstances, your sending them well wishes does make a difference in your own mind and heart, and in the lives of others who will be recipients of your kindness as it continues to grow. Please open your eyes if they've been closed and gently bring your attention to wherever you are. Thank you so much for your practice.
And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. A meditation session with Poppy Lynn, your host from High Consciousness Podcast. We are back at it again. I hope that moment allowed you to reset, allowed you to really let go of whatever is hindering you, or at least allow you to feel present in this moment, allow you to feel alive, allow you to feel free, and allow you to feel like you have control. If there's one thing we have control over, as long as we're here in this earth, is our breath. So, in and out, baby. In and out through the tough, through the rough, and just know you wouldn't be going through it and you wouldn't be having these battles if someone did not believe that you could handle it. You can handle it. You got this. Even if you gotta take in the moment and then just release it after, you at least stood strong within the moment, right? And at least you took it at the time to be compassionate to yourself and also feel those emotions after. And that's the goal, right? The goal is to be able to manage emotions. The goal is to be able to understand our emotions, understand our triggers, understand our trauma. So today's episode, I want to lead into that, I want to take it down that path, because I feel as though we tend to talk about a lot of things in this life, right? Even the dark sides, such as like what's happening in Palestine, what's happening in Israel, what's happening in China, what's happening somewhere else, like what's happening here. What do we constantly go through in terms of gun violence, right? But everything stems from something. So even in that meditation where they stated, be kind, be compassionate to someone else, even if they're not where you're at, it's okay to do that, because we all need it, and it's gonna come back around. I think sometimes I used to be stuck on like, the expectation of being kind and expecting something back, right? Because you're giving, right? And I think that I think if there's one expectation we have, is that one. And it's because we're such giving people, but we also have to talk about the difference in that, in terms of having that balance, right? And understanding that just because you give doesn't mean that someone is going to be just like you and give too. There's takers out there, right? And people take sometimes and won't give. Or maybe they are givers, but in that moment they need to be a taker, right? They need to just take that in, what you just gave them, their flowers, right? Recognition of some sort. Maybe even just a hello text, anything goes a long way. So I say that because, I'm tired of us as a society shying away from talking about our traumas. I know it's hard and I know it sucks, right? That we all had to go through something in our lives to build character, but it's Deuteronomy. At least, on my end, that's what I believe. And at the same time, when I say that, in some other moment, we'll dive deeper into that, but just listen to Kendrick, One Time for the One Time. And I say that because we're all cursed somehow, right? But it's how do we overcome that and break that and rebuild ourselves to be who we want to be, who we know is righteous enough to be, right? With still knowing everything that we have been through as a human race, as individuals, and as a whole, together. We're all tied to each other somehow. It's just what it is, right? Like, as weird as that sound, it is what it is. And it's deeper than what we think, right? But I don't want to get that deep yet. I want to start with just acknowledging that we have all been through trauma. And this is my favorite topic because I feel as though I've really taken the time to understand the psyche, and I want to continue to take the time to understand that. I think at some point in my life I would love to be a therapist because I just want to I'm really the type of person that I know I've been through my own shit, but I've healed enough to know and detach myself from so many different things, but still understand them as a whole and still have compassion, humility, respect, perspective, kindness, and be interpersonal in all of that and still be who I am today because of everything that I've been through. But I've made it out to be better, not for worse, right? And a lot of us are stuck in the for worse. A lot of us are stuck because we're not talking about these things. We're not being open enough. And that's okay. It's going to take you time. You're going to listen to me plenty of times. You may not even like me, to be honest. And you may not agree to my points of views. But guess what? I'm still going to say what I'm going to say. I'm still going to give you what I'm going to deliver. And whoever it resonates with is for a reason. And you hear me. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I want you, listener, the one that it resonated with, to explore that even more. Challenge yourself because you can. And if you are a lion at heart and you challenge yourself, go ahead. Roar, baby. That's it. I'm just here to encourage, and it's mainly not talked about enough, but it's the path to enlightenment, right? The path to enlightenment. I was watching a podcast the other day and it was really talking about how we don't talk enough about how we really have to let go of those old versions of ourselves and create new versions of ourselves, right? Like I stated in the beginning, and just continue to build off of that. Let go of beliefs that we know, let go of agreements. And there's so many books that I'm going to talk about through this journey that dive deep. Right. And I like to go back to books because I feel like books are very important. Right. Back in the times, Black people the slaves they didn't want them to read. They never wanted us to read. Why do you think that it's down to them even controlling our own educational system, the system, right? And there's so many facts out there. There's so many like hidden gems, hidden stories that are told about history. And, you know, I'm here to help you to the path of enlightenment. And that's all I can do, because I had people help me to the path of enlightenment, and that's all they could do. And guess what? Guess how they did that? By them being that role model, continuing to open my eyes, continuing to give me information and the whys, and explain it into even down to our own way of thinking, right? Into who we are today. And everything we've been through creates us to be who we are today. Everything that has happened has created the world to be what it is today, right? So it's all connected. No pun intended. It's all connected, because it's all connected. You feel me? And, you know, for a while, even for me as a person, I had to really think about what I want. Let's go into the quote of the day. The quote of the day is from Allegory of the Cave. And if you watched our first episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, I'm going to give you that next. Allegory of the Cave shows how characters can free themselves from intellectual darkness through enlightenment and the bravery to experience with new ideas. Now, Allegory of the Cave is something that me and T touched on when we first started this, because it painted the way to what High Consciousness Podcast is. And thanks, so. I appreciate that so much. You're so kind. You shouldn't have. Zoe just wants attention. Anyway, we touch base on that because it paints the picture for a lot of things, right? Like, I feel as though the media paints this picture that they want to paint constantly, and they keep us enslaved still because we don't question it. We just take it for what it is. We take it for what we see, even down to how Earth looks outside of this. Like, we're humans. We can see ourselves. We're humans. We feel those things. We're humans. We should question things, you know, especially if it's being told by a group of people that have never really been known to support us, you know, and have never had our best interest at heart. So it's been like that since way back then. It's deep. It's very deep. So please, if you haven't checked that episode out, please go check it out and educate yourselves on that, because I don't want to stay too long on that topic. The reason why I brought that up is because it stated literally in it, characters can free themselves from intellectual darkness through enlightenment and the bravery to experiment with new ideas. And that's all this is about. Leaving that darkness that we know and creating enlightenment. But to leave that darkness, you got to let go of your old self. And you got to recreate, right? Unlearn to relearn. We had to all unlearn as a whole for this generation, maybe 5 years ago, right? So I feel as though I never even saw that path happen, because when I was in this back in like 2018, and I really took that time for myself and I went through the path of enlightenment, I just didn't see the world there. But the pandemic changed us, and I'm happy for it in a sense, because I feel like we all became more aware and more awake, you know. Excuse me, Zoe. So it just puts us in a place of, let's experiment with new ideas. So I just ask of you, please, to hear me with an open heart and an open mind. You know, I only really want what's best for us. And I give this quote because this quote just is really close to home for me. And I feel like at some point in my life, I was really in intellectual darkness, and I didn't know what emotional intelligence was. I didn't know what manifestation was. I didn't know what meditation was. I didn't know how to deal with my emotions in terms of figuring out my triggers. I didn't know my boundaries. I didn't know a lot of different things. I didn't even know who I played in certain parts in my life, right? I didn't even know about my own trauma. As crazy as that sounds, right? But at some point, we have to do the inner work and dig deeper. And I feel like reading really helps with that. And I say all of that to say, I love this book. I love this author. This book was published in 2015. Over 1 million people have read this book. It's published in 48 languages, almost close to The Alchemist. The Alchemist 56. He's 80 years old now. Worked for the Boston Store Hospital as a director. He became a staff psychiatric at the Boston Veterans Administration Outpatient Clinic. And he developed an interest in studying traumatic stress in 1978 while working with Vietnam War veterans suffering from PTSD and serving on the Harvard Medical School facility. This book right here, baby. This book right here. The body keeps the score, you heard? The body keeps the score. Brain, mind, and body in the healing of trauma. Bessel van der Kolk. A masterpiece that combines the boundlessness curiosity of the scientist, the erudition of the scholar, and the passion of the truth teller. Love that. And that quote comes from Judith Herman. A pioneer researcher transforms our understanding of trauma and offers a bold new I can never say that word. A PARADIGM. Please comment below. Please hit my line and tell me how you say that word. For healing. My Spanish self can't get it right. Trauma is fact of life. It definitely is. Veterans and their families deal with the painful aftermath of combat. 1 in 5 Americans have been molested. 1 in 4 grew up with alcoholics. 1 in 3 couples have engaged in physical violence. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, one of the world's foremost experts of trauma. Sorry, I think I said his name wrong. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. Sorry. One of the world's foremost experts on trauma, has spent over 3 decades working with survivors. In The Body Keeps the Score, he uses recent scientific advances to show how trauma literally reshapes both the body and brain. He explores innovative treatments from neurofeedback and meditation to sports, drama, and yoga that offer new paths to recovery by activating the brain. Based on Dr. van der Kolk's own research and that of other leading specialists, The Body Keeps the Score exposes the tremendous power of our relationship both to hurt and to heal, and offers new hope for reclaiming lives. That's facts, man. Packed with science and human stories, the book is an intense read. It is an intense read. The struggle and resilience of van der Kolk's patients is very moving. An authoritative guide to the effects of trauma and pathways to recovery. A must read for mental health and other healthcare professionals, trauma survivors, their loved ones, and those who seek solutions to the cycle of trauma and violence in our society. That was from Rachel Yehuda, and the other one was The New Scientist. But let me tell you something, man. The first chapter is really deep. The first chapter gets into how, he opens up about how he started at the Boston Clinic Hospital, and then he was working at Harvard, and how he balanced both, and how he was doing basically like what they wanted them to do, which is like try to like give them pills and stuff like that. And then he decided to do another method. But I really wanted to take the time to really point out this book, and I'm gonna keep pointing out other things that have gone on in terms of like what this book provides us, and some gems, some pointers, some takeaways I have. And I'm not done, but the whole point is to come on here and do this journey with you guys. Keeps me accountable to a certain extent. But it also allows me to really learn, so then I can really help the people around me once I do figure out what I figure out for my own, right? Because I know that I, at the end of the day, come first. And you, at the end of the day, come first in your life. Always put you first no matter what, before you even give out to the world. But, it just really talks about diagnosing post-traumatic stress. And it talks about how, these veterans had, some of them would have nightmares, some of them would, like, it could be the slightest thing would just remind them of kids being killed. Like, some of them really like that, some of them really indulge in their trauma, like that's all they know, that's how they feel alive. It gives you like your 3 levels of safety, you know, how you're always in defense mode. And it's either, I think, what is it here, it's social engagement, flight or fight, freeze or collapse, and I'll get into that. But you know, you, by just hearing those things, you can already think to yourself like, oh shit, like I kind of do live in that space to a certain extent. Or even just, what does that mean? But if you're going through it right now and you need something or an outlet to help you and really figure out your path to healing, I feel as though this book really helps. You know, shout out to Herrick. If you know Herrick, then you know someone really great. And you know, this book goes by like chapters, and it really tells you even like how your brain reacts on trauma, like down to serotonin and all that shit that you need. But you know, it really starts with like how it was just implemented to, like, for you to I think it was Prozac and Zotac, both of those drugs that were used during those times, that they were like utilizing these veterans as like a experiment, you know. And I think that at some point, okay, good, but even him himself, that's what I really like about the book, that him himself knew that wasn't the path to enlightenment. Sorry guys, my camera died, so we're back on the phone, iPhone 15. Hopefully it comes out clear. But men are the ones that, you know, we really have to focus on, because they're the ones that really have to put up this act, right? And I just feel like this book really just highlights a lot of things that we need to talk about. Let me just read, like, just even the beginning. There was this part that really had me. Trauma and the loss of self. The first study I did at the VA started with systematically asking veterans, let's try that again. The first study I did at the VA started with systematically asking veterans what happened to them in Vietnam. I wanted to know what had pushed them over the brink and why some had broken down as a result of that experience while others had been able to go on with their lives. Most of the men I interviewed had gone to war feeling well prepared, drawn close by the rigors of basic training and the shared danger. They exchanged pictures of their families and girlfriends. They put up with one another's flaws, and they were prepared to risk their lives for their friends. Most of them confide their darkest secret to a buddy, and someone so far as to share each other's shirts and socks. Many of the men had friendships similar to Tom's with Alex. You'll get to know who Tom and Alex is. Tom met Alex, an Italian guy from Malden, Massachusetts, on his first day in country, and they instantly became close friends. They drove their Jeep together, listened to the same music, and read each other's letters from home. They got drunk together and chased the same Vietnamese bar girls. After about 3 months in country, Tom led his squad on foot patrol through a rice paddy just before sunset. Suddenly, a hail of gunfire spurted from the green wall of the surrounding jungle, hitting the men around him one by one. Tom told me how he had looked on in helpless horror as all the members of his platoon were killed or wounded in a matter of seconds. He would never get one image out of his mind, the back of Alex's head as he lays face down in the rice paddy, his feet in the air. Tom wept as he recalled, he was the only real friend I ever had. Afterward, at night, Tom continued to hear the screams of his men and to see their bodies falling into the water. Any sounds, smells, or images that reminded him of the ambush, like the popping of firecrackers on the 4th of July, made him feel just as paralyzed, terrified, and enraged as he had the day the helicopter evacuated him from the rice paddy. Maybe even worse for Tom, Then the recruitment flashbacks of the ambush was the memory of what happened afterward. I could easily imagine how Tom's rage about his friend's death had led to the calamity that followed. It took him months of dealing with his paralyzing shame before he could tell me about it. Since time immemorial, veterans like Achilles and Homer's Iliad had responded to the death of their comrades with unspeakable acts of revenge. The day after ambush, Tom went into a frenzy to a neighborhood village, killing children, shooting an innocent farmer, and raping Vietnamese women. Can you believe that? After it became truly impossible for him to go home again in any meaningful way, how can you face your sweetheart and tell her that you brutally raped a woman just like her? Or watch your son take his first steps when you are reminded of the child you murdered? Tom experienced the death of Alex as if part of himself had been forever destroyed. The part that was good and honorable and trustworthy. Trauma, whether it is the result of something done to you or something you yourself have done, almost always makes it difficult to engage in intimate relationships. After you have experienced something so unspeakable, how do you learn to trust yourself or anyone else again? Or conversely, how can you surrender to an intimate relationship else again? Or also, how can, even after, have been brutally violated? Tom kept showing up faithfully for his appointments, as I had become for him a lifetime, the father he'd never had, and Alex who had survived the ambush. It takes enormous trust and courage to allow yourself to remember. That sucks, man. It's tough. You see what I mean? One of the hardest things for traumatized people is to confront their shame about the way they behave during a traumatic episode, whether it is objectively warranted, as in the commission of atrocities, or not, as in the case of a child who tries to placate her abuser. It gets deeper, but I just wanted to take that moment to kind of give that scenario, because I see the world so different after reading this book. And I'm not even done with it. Look where I'm at. I'm not even done with it. But I'm here for it. I'm here for it 100%. And this is the book of the month. And, you know, by the end of the month, I really want to finish that book and really take in what it's trying to tell me. But, you know, I took the time to read that book because I feel as though, you know, as I stated earlier, if you know Herrick, you know A Beautiful Soul. And he introduced me to that book in a moment where I was going through it, you know, and it was a different scenario that happened to me that I've never in my life have experienced. And I won't talk about it for confidential reasons, but at the end of the day, that scenario really triggered me a lot, and I just didn't know where the trigger came from. And he sat down with me and he listened to me. I cried, I let it all out, and I'm just like, you know, like I'm annoyed, like I feel some type of way. He's like, you know, that comes from something, like, you know, you need to explore yourself. He's like, have you ever heard of The Body Keeps a Score? And I'm like, yeah, somebody that I was talking to kind of brought that up. And he was like, I think you should. And I'm like, you think I should? He's like, yeah, go read that thing. So I'm reading that thing, you know, and I've been on it for a minute. I'm really trying to get better with reading, especially very disciplined. I hope y'all hear Zoe in the back. She loud as hell. Yo, chill out, dog. Like, why are you snoring so much? No, but seriously, you know, when I got presented that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to it. So I'm trying to stay as committed as possible, but I'm really giving myself until the end of this month to finish that book, because that book is awesome. It's a lot to take in, though, and I feel as though with my journey, you know, when I first started the path to wanting to heal and just be more enlightened through my life and do the right things, right, and be educated about the things that are presented to us in this matrix and in this world that we currently live in this hell and in this earth, because I feel like shit, it's crazy out here, man. We need to stay aware, right? We need to really stay educated and open-minded. So, oh, hey, Zoe. Now you gonna come closer? How you doing? it's to the point that, you know, I want to take on this journey with whoever wants to take it on with me, right? And even if that means 2 people, my guy, I impacted 2 people. I don't care if it's 1 person. I impacted 1 person. Other than me, I don't care. That's all I care about. As long as I did the highest form of human act, which is inspiration, that's all I care about. So I say that to say this, that I want to encourage you to dig deeper and start somewhere. You know, when I first started, I started with meditation. I started with The Alchemist. If you haven't read that book, please go read that book, because that book is such a fun story and it's so amazing, and it literally paints the way to just enlightenment, to you having control over your life. And it plants a seed of confidence in you that you got it, that you are that guy. You know, and you only become that person if you are that person and you explore that person, you know. But you also can be whoever you want to be, right? In this world, we ain't gonna get to that, but you get what I mean, right? But I say that to say this. Look, The Alchemist helped me. I did The Secret. It was very repetitive, but I finished the book, right? I stuck to that. I worked out in the meantime, right? I kept my physical straight. And I keep seeing this meme float around that states you need 3 wins out of the day. You need a physical win, you need a mental win, and I think the third one was you need a what's the third one? I don't got my phone. Damn. You need a physical win, you need a mental win, and you need, I think, physical, mental, am I missing something? Emotional, sorry. That's how I'm like, yo, what the heck? You need a physical, emotional, and mental win. And you know, I just feel like that's just very important. It's very important to really follow that alignment, and take care of those things for yourself, not for anybody else, because you don't need to impress yourself. You don't need to impress anybody but yourself. So you keep impress yourself. So you keep impressing you gotta just impress yourself. You know what I'm saying? Fuck everybody else. Bleep everybody else. Bleep everybody else. And you know, the 4 Agreements helped me. It's a short read, and I'm not big on like self-development books, right? Like to a certain extent, right? But I feel like there's definitely books out there that help you dig deeper. And there's authors out there that actually care and have been through life and have been through things and get to share those stories too, from that psychological standpoint, right? From that deeper rooted of life self point, like even down to like their own troubles, right? Like, and I love hearing things like that, and seeing examples and seeing ways and different gems that can help us get out of this matrix and get out of this place where we think that we can't heal, this cycle, this generational curse, right? And do better and be better. So I wanted to let you guys know that this is the book that we're going to be talking about in October, and we're going to tie it back into the allegory of the cave. But if you haven't watched that episode, please go watch that episode. Please go buy that book. Please go listen to that book. Whatever you have to do, please go do it, but take the time to really inhale all that, you know. And if you're not there yet, then please start with therapy. BetterHelp is out there. This is not an advertisement, but if your insurance covers it, go do it. If your friend is willing to do it for free, say no. But if you know, if you have the opportunity to just take those few steps, and I know it's not easy, it's hard sometimes, right? But if you have the opportunity to take those steps, please take those steps, and please go talk to somebody professional about your troubles and about what you're going through, so then you can let go of all that stuff, and then you can go ahead and rebuild yourself. Because if you don't ever let go of that, you will never be able to really truly move forward, or even get to explore yourself, or even know who you are or what you want out of life, because you're too stuck on the old old you, on the you that didn't know anything, right? That just got thrown things at them and was like, okay, let me catch them. All right, I guess this is what it is. Let me not question it. No, go question it, bro. Go question it. Even if it means questioning yourself, go question it. Go figure it out. Go explore it. Go love it. Go find you. Go heal you. And that's it for today's episode. I know I probably kept you out here for a little bit, but it's all good. All right. For my viewers, I'm sorry that the camera switched. My camera died, so I had to switch in mid episode. But I didn't stop and cut it and keep coming back. You know, I could have done that, but I didn't. I was loyal to y'all, just like I'm loyal to me. Zoe keeps snoring in the back. I don't know if y'all heard her. I'm sorry if y'all did. I hope y'all enjoyed that a little bit though. And I just want to say thank you for listening, and thank you for coming, and thank you for staying, and thank you for making it this way through. If you listen to it all, that means that you want change for yourself. That means that you hear something here. That means that something that I've said has resonated, and I hope that it does. And I hope that it continues to give you life, and I hope that it continues to allow you to explore your point of view in life and who you play as a person and who you want to be, but also what do you want to leave behind and how do you want to continue to inspire, because I believe that we are all here to inspire. We just have to make sure we dig deep and forget about the external world and focus on the internal world. And you know, there's so many things that I want to talk to you guys about, but I'm gonna slow down, because if I don't, then it's gonna get crazy and y'all gonna be like, damn, she all over the place. So we're gonna start one by one, right? Let me not get too excited, but please, yes, any of those books that I said, I beg of you to pick one and like really try to practice it. For me, the 4 Agreements was like I read that book and I'm like, yo, that book changed my life, because I allowed it in. I allowed it in, and I said to myself, wow, it's really something that can help. Like that what? To the point that you could not play around. I was the type of kid that I wasn't gonna take a joke from you. I would take it personal. I would take a lot of things personal. But I made an agreement with myself that I wouldn't make assumptions, that I wouldn't take things personal. And all of them, I agreed to all of them. But, you know, it was in different ways for myself. So I know that for you, if you will find out what different ways that can match you, you know. So like, follow, subscribe, comment, do your thing. All right. Stay tuned and in tune. Please continue to listen. Continue to provide feedback. Continue to have fun with me, and continue to learn and unlearn and stay open. I love you guys. I hope you all have a great week. Whenever you watch this, if you watch this over the weekend, a great weekend. Whenever this drops, a great day. And yeah, that's all Poppy Lynn, your host, has for you. I hope you like the quote of the day. And I'm out this